Hello. Off to a great start. Claudio, fellow Italian.
Third generation, I reckon, or fourth generation. I still don't know.
Okay. Mexican Italian, to be honest. Same. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the how they call it, the Mediterranean heritage, right?
Yeah. Same hair, right?
Exactly.
Well, we are live from Staking Summit. This is our third conversation today. The previous two,
And not gonna be the last.
and not gonna be the last, but number 3 is pretty good number, right?
Yeah.
One of my most likable numbers. Anyway, Claudio, so glad to have you here. You're the co-founder of Metapool, which is the leading liquid staking solution of near. You already told me, let's not ask about the background and everything because people want to get into the action, right?
There you go.
Drop some alpha for us. I know that you've got a couple of announcements today.
We're coming full swing here in Dubai. Actually, it's our first time here, so really excited. More importantly for us, it gives us an opportunity to really tap into the Middle East market. I think for many of us coming from Mexico, Argentina, it's just, it's not something that we, don't get me wrong, we are exposed to Middle Eastern culture, right? So we have, especially in Mexico City, there's a lot of people from Iran, there's a lot of people from this neck of the woods, right? Israel, of course, and then you have also people from Middle East, right? From the Emirates, and then Syria as well. So there's this, we are exposed to that culture.
Mm-hmm.
The only difference is that, well, we don't get to make business and connect those businesses, right? And this is the great thing about blockchain technology, that it allows for a small organization from Latin America to come here to the Middle East and start to get our feet wet into what this region is all about, the richness, not only in its culture, but also the opportunities here around blockchain technology. And that's why we're here.
Yeah, and global exposure, right?
Yeah, most definitely. Like 90% of people are not from Dubai, right? And so it's a culture clashing, but more importantly, it's the serendipity around it. So yeah, really excited to be here.
What are we discussing today? After I know that you've got a couple of announcements. Let's drop some alpha. Obviously, what you can say.
Yeah, no, all good. So that's why we're here, right?
Let's do it.
So the most important one is that Saudi Telecom is joining the validator set for Near Protocol. So that's something we have been working for the last 7 months, and it's today, right? After a long helping them set up their validator node, right? Getting them their initial delegation, then trying to understand what's their objectives, right? Because sometimes it's not clear.
Yeah.
But for a telco operator, it's pretty crystal clear. It's like they're providing decentralized infrastructure for the Near Protocol blockchain. Now that Near is focusing to grow in the AI space, this is something really important. And we're glad to be part of that effort to decentralize the protocol, provide coverage in many regions, right? So we got here a star-struck panel with Deutsche Telekom, we got Saudi Telecom, we got Vodafone coming in, right? And so they're here to discuss the future around staking infrastructure and blockchain technology.
That's the first, right? So a Web2 native company that has got immense reach, that is joining the validator set. Now, why did they choose Near, though?
So let's we provide a structured program with the right incentives around it, right? Like that. Let's be honest, right? You need to provide a air coverage for, in this case, telco operators to come in and be comfortable with something that changes every 3 months, which is the blockchain industry. And so we provide this program. It's called the Enterprise Node Operator Program. Mm-hmm. We onboarded Deutsche Telekom there. Entity Data is another one, right? And then operators such as Luganotes, Everstake, they're part of it, right? And so we provide this program where we have incentives. We set up some OKRs. We give them 18 months to execute on them, and the support to execute it as well. And so it's it's pretty, how can I say, they have a comfort zone set up for them in order for them to really get comfortable and, more importantly, start to execute, right?
Yeah.
Which is sometimes the risks that nimble organizations like us face when talking to the big guys, right? But at the end of the day, it's working out. So it's pretty happy with that. And this is just the beginning, right? It's just for them to get their feet wet and understand what the industry is all about, understand what they want to do, what they do not want to do, and sometimes us giving them feedback into, hey, maybe that's not such a good idea, right? Maybe you should try this or try that, right? And so that's the role that Metapool is playing.
Yeah. No, that's great. So with that in mind, what does the future hold for Near?
So Ilya will have a couple of talks here around AI, right? Not at Staking Rewards, not at Staking Summit, but on other events during Token 2049. And I believe that it's the right call, right? It's at the end of the day, the moat for most of these L1s that we're focusing on DeFi, it's kind of like liquidity and capital is on ETH. I think that everybody knows. Solana is another one, right? And for Near, they needed to make a decision of what's the remote. And I think this plays good to Ilya's strength, which is where his background comes in, right? And so AI is a good play, right? He co-authored a very famous paper. And so now his turn to shine, right? And so we're happy to support them, right? At the end of the day, AI infrastructure, with decentralization of AI infrastructure will play an important role. And so we have a role to play there, right? Onboarding more node operators, giving them enough geographic coverage. And so, yeah, so that's where we are right now. Excited about what they're doing. It is scary because, to be honest, I was not a AI first digital native. I was a little bit apprehensive on it. I'm like, okay, who's listening? Who's storing my information? I'm a little bit of a psyops guy there, so I'm like, okay. But now I full feet. I'm still doing baby steps with AI because I'm mindful of the security risk that it entails. But anyhow, as anything, right? The technology will evolve. It will become more secure, and as protocols such as NearEye will provide the decentralization factor in it, then the security will build on top of it, right?
Yeah.
Knock on wood that happens, but still, that's where we are.
Well, AI has got a lot of potential, right? And what excites you the most, by the way, about AI, and why AI and blockchain is such a great match?
Well, it's something that what excites me about blockchain technology is that we're writing the future at this very moment, right? Maybe it might not look like that. Maybe for some people that this is maybe their first try into technology. But between my co-founder and myself, with Lucio and myself, we have more than 50 years experience building software. And the first big opportunity around mobile, I let it pass.
Yeah.
In front of me. I was living in Barcelona at that time. So all Mobile World Congresses were done there. And I saw AdMob. Many of you might not know who they are, but that's the big company that's the company that Google bought in order for them to serve ads on your mobile phone.
Right.
And I saw that company when it was like 10 people. And then I got offered to like, hey, well, we're interested in running Latin America. I'm like, what? Ads on the phone? I don't think so, right? And so I saw the big opportunity. That was just one of many. Yeah. For example, Robio was the other one, Angry Birds, right? I saw them where there was a 10-people team, right? Going the ups and downs, right? All the way to the top, all the way to the bottom, right? But and I missed that opportunity. When blockchain technology came in, I got full on in it, right? So I participated back in 2020. So I got exposed first to 2017, and I realized like how easy it was to move value around.
Yeah. Like
no restrictions, decentralized, permissionless, right? And I said, okay, this is something, but I didn't quite understand like what all of this was about. Then in 2020, you see the emergence of the Ethereum killers, right? You got Near, you got Solana, you got ICP, you got Avalanche, Rally, Mina, and a bunch of others, right? And so I participated in the CoinList offerings that they did. For me, it was a very comfortable position. I didn't get into any of the ICOs at that time in 2018 because coming from Mexico, you understand two important things. If you give money away to a stranger, most likely he will run away with it.
It's not going to come back.
It's not going to come back. And I'm like, I'm sending what? ETH to this random, or BTC to this random address, and then automatically I'm going to get tokens back? No, that's not going to happen, right? And so with CoinList, it was, yes, KYC, KYB, but it was comfortable putting my credit card there and just paying for the tokens, which is fine. And that went pretty well, right? 2021 hit DeFi summer, and all this killer Ethereum tokens went up, right? And so pretty happy camper with that. But more importantly, got me exposed to the technology and the opportunity around building decentralized value. For people in Europe or maybe here, they will not kind of get it, right? Because it's kind of widely available. But if you're coming from Latin America, it's all gatekeeping. The value that you generate, it's being gatekept from the get-go, right? To the top 1% and XYZ. And I see this as a technology that would enable anybody to retain most of the value that the protocol or the platforms create. And I think this is something that is going to change. And I've seen the impact this has done in our region, right? I've seen teams from Nayarit, which for many of you, you'll have to Google that one, right? Nayarit, right? You will not know, but I've seen teams there that have gone full on Web3, right? That they're doing, building, launching, and now their whole economy is sustained by blockchain technology, right? Having exposure to USDT, USDC on the whatever blockchain you want, right? But that's exposure to dollars. And for many of us us here, and I need to be counting to the privileged ones, right? That we had access to dollars. There's an alternative, but for the many people in what we're calling frontier markets, which is regions that are at the border of massive crypto adoption, having access to dollars and retaining value from the protocols and systems that they participate is a game changer, and it will shift for the next generations to come on how they perceive value creation in our society, right? And so that's what, for me, it was like, I'm doubling down on this, right? I left my job at Atlassian, and I said, you know what? I'm going to do this full time. My wife was flipping out, right? She was like, Wood, you're doing what? To do what? To do with whom, right? I met my co-founder on Discord. Like, I met Lucio on the Near Protocol Discord. And we launched the leading liquid staking solution on Near, right? And since then, we've gone multi-chain, supporting EVM, non-EVM. So, and it's a small team from Argentina, from Mexico, from Ecuador, from Peru, from Brazil, right, from Colombia. Now we've onboarded and created a team in Southeast Asia, in Thailand, in Indonesia, and Vietnam, right? Because we believe that frontier markets will be the next jump in the ball for the blockchain ecosystem, right? There's where value creation will become sustainable and not about capital markets coming in or institutions coming in, which is fine, right? For Europe, for the Middle East, and for US, right? But for frontier markets, it's about the small guys getting exposure to dollars. How do they multiply those dollars without then having to go to an institution, right? Because if you live in Argentina, most likely you're not going to have your money in a bank.
Yeah. It's also the case of remittances, right? That a lot of people, probably don't think much about because they live in Europe or potentially here in the UAE or in North America, where the exchange of money is very small, right?
Yes.
And a transfer, wire transfer, international transfer, maybe a couple of days, and it lands, not much fees, etc.
And you don't face you don't have any pain of not receiving the money in 3 days. Like, that's fine. It'll get there.
Yeah.
When you are in Africa, when you're in Latam or Southeast Asia, you want the money now. Not in 72 hours. Like, not even in 3. I want it now, right? And in a trustless manner. That's the other thing, right? We might not trust each other, but I know that if you send me USDC, USDT on Tron or Near or Solana, I'll get it.
And it's not a blank check, for example.
And it's not a blank check. You know how that goes, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm familiar with myself. We're not. It's just,
No strangers to danger.
yeah, there you go. No strangers to dangers. No, that's interesting. I actually did not know that you were working at Atlassian yourself. I spent 10 years at Accenture myself.
There you go.
So very similar companies there. They're our friends and family, we call them. There's a lot of intersection there between what they do and what we do. And I know that we were talking about this before, and I also joked about we should have just recorded that conversation, that we would be done with it, right? But why did you choose? If we can just take a step back, right? Why did you choose Near? And you said that you even met your co-founder hanging out in the Discord. It's a very interesting, journey that you've been through.
Yeah. So it was pre-pandemic, right? And we kind of got started testing out the technology. Actually, I met Lucio before us deciding to co-found Metapool. And I had a small Skunkworks team. At that time, I was working at Atlassian. I had some good dev friends, and we said, hey, let's participate in a couple of hackathons. I said, I got exposure to some tokens, right? And we did a bunch of them. We did Blockstack, we did Avalanche, we did ICP. And this is back 2020, right? And it was pre-mainnet.
Yeah.
And it's a whole nother world. If you're coming from the SaaS, software as a service industry, you're kind of used to things working, having support to build it, and people that get paid in order for you to build software on top of their platforms, right? Atlassian's really good, Freshdesk, Salesforce, Zendesk, right? These are now some of them public companies, right? And so they have this infrastructure to support builders. Here it was more kind of open source, but even open source communities, Python, and then you have the different Linux distributions. They're pretty well run, to be honest. And 2020, getting information from a Discord, I set up my first account on Discord to get support from, I think it was Avalanche or Blockstack, I think it was, or Stacks as it's called right now. I didn't know it existed, right? It's a gaming platform. Where's your Slack channel? Or the Slack group or Telegram groups? And I'm like, okay, is this legit? That was my first question. And then I started it was norm. Everybody's on Discord. I'm like, okay, this is a standard. Okay, good. Now, support was always a challenge, and at that time, at that time we're all startups, and so you have the minimal people on it, and I chose Near because one, the technology worked, testnet was working, and so I didn't see this was the test of time, right? It's I'm gonna build on top of this blockchain. There you go. So yeah, exactly. Then we will see a giraffe coming in as well, right?
No, it's good. So testnet was working, which is something that you could say for the other.
Exactly. And so the issue here was that the transactions were not passing through.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, dude, the transactions aren't passing through. Well, yeah, just try it now. Yeah. That was the answer. And I'm like, okay, is the blockchain running or is it not running, right?
And so you say try now, it means
that somebody's switching on and off the server, right? I've already had more than 20 years building software. I know how that works, right? Refresh your browser, right? The only thing needed. Exactly, clear your cache. And so for me, that was the best filter for where I wanted to build, because you need to understand at that time I was pretty pragmatic in the sense of, okay, what's the ROI on my time here, right? I'm not going to wait for your testnet to go run, because this is a testnet. It should work, right? It cannot be a forever beta. And so with Near worked really well. Documentation was more or less bearable, right? And the devs could do their work. Myself, I'm not a dev. I used to be head of product, but I know I understand the minimum requirements that a dev needs in order to get shit done. So at that time, it was getting shit done was the most important thing, and Near was the blockchain that we got our chance to do it, and it played pretty well, to be honest. Can't complain.
Yeah, I mean, you were telling me that in 2021 you made bank.
Yeah, right now, like we don't have to worry about vacation. Now the next step is how am I gonna pay for my college tuition for my kids? But anyhow, that's hopefully in the next bull run.
You could sell your ranch, right, with all of the horses that you have in Mexico. Yeah. I'm sure that you have a private escort as well, as in security.
No, yeah, I tread on lightly, man. I tread on lightly. I don't own a car and all that stuff, so I kind of could keep a low profile there. So all good.
Okay, very, very good. Okay, so you started in 2020. You were building on testnet. 2021 has been amazing. How was 2022 for you?
Well, that was a reality synced in, right?
Yeah.
That was quite a bit of a reality check, right? Not everything's gonna go up and to the right.
Yeah.
That's something that you got like a cold shower, right? That is not going up and to the right. And so that was like, oh shit, okay, so it does go down, but really down, right?
Yeah.
And everybody's trying to scramble, and then you see people getting screwed as well, right? People getting rugged, and then you see the bad actors, and it's just you see people's true colors as well. 2022. To be honest, we've been blessed by surrounding ourselves with people that have high integrity, which is sad to say. It's not the norm, right? And more importantly, people that are here to play the long term.
Yeah.
There's short-sightedness, right? And don't get me wrong, I do understand why. There's a lot of young people here, right? I consider myself one of the elders here, right, in the room. But more importantly, it's because I've been around, and I know that it's just we're just four cats, they say, cuatro gatos, right? And so I think for us it was an eye opener, right? And the most important thing is that we continue to build. We continue to, how can I say, be committed to the vision of what this technology can bring. And I was seeing the value. Like, yes, we were giving out, at that time I was working really close with the Near Ecosystem grants team. We were giving out grants to teams in Mexico, in Venezuela, in Argentina, in Brazil, and we were basically onboarding them into this industry, and most of them are still building. Maybe not on Near, but that's besides the point. They understood that there's a value creation process here where they can earn a living, and more importantly, they're building the next generation economic system for the world. And so for me, it's like if knock on wood, if a bus runs me over here after the conference, I'll die a happy man, to be honest, right?
It's amazing, man. And it's also a good way to end it here. We're at time. There's other interviews. I'll just say this. There's very few blockchains that can say that stood the test of time over multiple cycles. So congratulations on that too.
Yeah. No, thank you very much for everything. David, it's a pleasure, and we'll see you around here at Staking Summit.
Yeah, let's do it. Cheers, man. Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you very much.